Coming up on today's show, Assassin's Creed Red has been revealed as Assassin's Creed Shadows. Let's talk about it. What's good, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the What's Good Games podcast, your source for video game news, commentary, analysis, and of course, the funny stuff every Friday. I am one of your hosts, Andrea Renee, joined by Miss Brittany Brombacher.
It's one of those days, Andrea. I think Rhea and I are suffering from delirium. So we're just getting it out there now, ladies and gentlemen.
It's going to be wild and wacky.
Ooh.
Mrs. Rihanna Manuel-Peña is joining us as well.
Yes, I am here as a full-time employee of What's Good Games now.
Oh my gosh, that's great news. I didn't even realize that was an option at this company.
Great. Great. I hope you like no salary.
Hey, it is plenty satisfying to me to be here. No, I announced this week that I have stepped back from my full-time role at Zebra Partners, so I am going to be on What's Good Games, hopefully, a lot more often now.
Yes.
Well, we're very excited to have you. You know we love you, and we know that your motherhood journey and this new business opportunity that's coming your way is all, you know, a very exciting future for you and your family, and we're very happy for you. And obviously, we're very happy for us, too, selfishly.
Yeah. Happiness
We're
all
very
around.
excited
Happiness
about it.
and
We
delirium.
have a very busy event coming up. Lots to talk about and happening at Summer Game Fest, of which Ubisoft Forward is one of those things. And we will get into that in just a second. I'm going to say thank you to this month's super producers, Bored Apes Gamers Club, Faris Attieh, Justin Foshee, Joshua Franklin, and Punkdefied. Thank you so much to everybody who has left us a 5-star review as well. Those help us out a lot. Don't forget, on Spotify, just click all 5 of those stars. That's it. You don't even have to write words. Takes just a couple seconds. Helps us out a lot. This week's show is brought to you by Into the AM and Shopify, but we'll tell you more about that in just a little bit because, ladies and gentlemen, can you believe it? What's Good Games at Supercast.com is up and running.
Yay!
I mean, it has been, but you can now find the first podcast exclusive episode of our Super Happy Hour Q&A from last month. So please head on over and watch that if you haven't checked it out yet. And also our Best of Year 7's Funny Stuff video is also live on our YouTube channel. Highly recommend you check that out as well. Just wanted to let you know. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you?
You got me. You honestly got me. I was excited to start grunting and groaning and making all sorts of obscene sounds, but that Supercast is worth it too. So,
it sure is. It sure is. All right, now let's get into the actual news. So this is something that I'm very excited about. Ubisoft leaked and then said that they were going to show a trailer. Or I guess I should say they were going to show a trailer, and then it got leaked as per usual. And then they finally did the big reveal for the next Assassin's Creed, which I'm very excited about. Assassin's Creed Shadows official world premiere trailer is out. And Brittany, you told me you have a bunch of chicken scratch notes, which I'm very excited to hear about too.
I do, yeah. So I went on IGN.com, and they, of course, like the minute this thing came out, they're like 40 facts you didn't know about Assassin's Creed Shadows. I'm like, sounds like somebody got early access. But yeah, so this game takes place in the Azuchi Momoyama period. So this is in 1579 and continues into the 1580s. And there are actually a number of historical figures in this campaign, like Oda Nobunaga, the great unifier of Japan, and Fubayashi Nagato, who is a master ninja of the Iga clan. And so the big thing about this one is it features 2 protagonists, and you'll be able to switch between them as you play through the campaign. And the first person you get is Naoi, who is the fictional daughter of, again, Fubayashi Nagato, who is a legendary shinobi. And she is trained by him, which is why she is so good at what she does at such a young age. She's very talented. She can do lots of stealthy things. And the next character we see is Yasuke, who is actually a real historical figure. And so he's originally from Africa, and he came to Japan with the Portuguese in 1579 and soon became a samurai in the employ of Lord Oda Nobunaga. And so this is the first game that you will actually play as a real person from the past. And so I just want to stop there and say that's fucking awesome.
I am so glad that you got all that context in because already dummies on the internet are making a stink about these characters. And I'm like, what? can these video game companies do nothing right? For years, Assassin's Creed fans have been begging for this Japanese Assassin's Creed game. And for years, Assassin's Creed fans have been begging for another female assassin. And I feel like they delivered on both of those fronts. But I mean, there's just no pleasing people now. That's just, so I just want to say this looks exciting. I pulled like the official blurb that Ubisoft put out, the press release, kind of detailing a little bit more about like some of the, specifics of the publishing of the game. So it's coming to PS5, Xbox Series X and X, Amazon Luna, Mac, and PC, which is pretty much, I think, every platform, but notably only current gen, which I think is, important and smart. It's coming this fall, November, and there will be 3 different editions, as to be expected. This is no surprise from Ubisoft. So there's going to be a Gold Edition, an Ultimate Edition, and the Collector's Edition. The base edition of the game will be $69.99, as per most games these days. And the thing I thought was really cool about the press release is kind of the detailing of some of the features. Britt, is there any specific feature that you think is like, ooh, now that's something that I want to learn more about?
Oh God, there's so much. So I was going through all of this, and I think of all things, like first and foremost, I think the dynamic world and seasons sounds really interesting. So it's using a new game engine this time around, this game is, and you'll see the world progress through, and this is all thanks to IGN, spring, summer, autumn, and winter. This context is IGN did not make this game, shame. The current season is dictated by your progress through the campaign in order to maintain historical accuracy, but there are steps that each period goes through to create a sense of authenticity. And so what it sounds like is no matter what season you're in, it's going to change up your gameplay a little bit. So when you're in spring, there's going to be bushes and long grass to hide in. In summer, there'll be something else probably. But then they go on to specifically mention autumn and winter. All those plants will die, and then there goes your cover, right? And then when it comes to be winter time, everything is going to be frozen over, which means you're not going to be able to use the lakes and the ponds to your advantage. But it does mean that enemies will be huddled around fire camps and whatnot. So maybe you can get like an advantageous path by going on the colder areas where there's not going to be enemies because they don't want to freeze their balls off, right?
I'm going to be throwing bombs in there. Boom, boom,
Throwing
let's go.
bombs. And the other thing, too, in terms of the dynamic world and seasons, and one of the features IGN mentioned on here was the iconic synchronization, right? Like, we all know what that is. You hop on the little perch, and then it does a little, like, spinny view, and then all these icons pop on your map. But this time, when you climb on top of a location, it no longer plots a bunch of icons on your map, and instead, you're able to survey the area for highlighted points of interest, which you can then seek out when back on the ground. Ubisoft expressed a wish for there to be less icons this time around, so this appears to be a way of fulfilling that, right?
Yeah, less icons, please. Like the completionist in me gets so overwhelmed by these games, and I know there have been obvious benefits and advantages to having lots of content in a single player game, clearly, but it is very easy to get a little overwhelmed and lost in the sauce when you zoom out and there are no less than like 500 things to do. I'm like, that's too much for me. So please dial it back. I appreciate that, and it sounds like you can choose which ones you see.
Yeah,
Which I really like. I like that adjustment.
So it's interesting. Oh, sorry. I was just talking about the icons. This has been something that's been hotly debated within Ubisoft fandoms, of one side saying, hey, we really like all of these things and we really want all of these check marks as part of our gameplay experience. And then the other side of people being like, I want to be immersed. I don't want to see all the icons. I want to just go explore and do it for myself. And I think it's great when developers say, how can we adapt to try to appease both groups?
Yeah. And I also like this approach. And again, like, I'm not the biggest Assassin's Creed guru out there, to the assassinations and the quests in general. So it sounds like this campaign features a non-linear campaign largely focused on targets, and you can track these targets in any order, and they want to be a little bit more hands-off, so the campaign is objective focused, but they also want to enable more player autonomy by using hints to push players in the right direction rather than just outright telling you like, hey, follow this little trail and go here and kill people. You can play most main quests, can be completed as Yasuke or Naoi, allowing for freedom of approach, but each character does have their own quests as well. There's going to be side quests, obviously. You can build up a spy network, and there's going to be a hideout. Like, I just think that sounds really cool. I think we're all kind of craving a little bit of Ghost of Tsushima too. At least I know I am. And I know this is not that game by any means, but I think this is going to scratch that itch that so many of us have been having for so long. I think ever since there's been Assassin's Creed, people have wanted some sort of feudal Japan setting, and it sounds like this is going to be the one we wanted. And I think I want to go back and say, like, I think the thing I'm most excited about is getting to know Yasuke as a character. Because during there was another video that Ubisoft put out where they were talking about the both characters and like the roles they play. And yeah, obviously he was a real dude, and I already like started going down a rabbit hole because I love it when real people, humans are featured in video games. I did the same thing with Rise of the Ronin and all those historical figures. But yeah, and so there's not a lot known about this character, this person rather, and so Ubisoft thought this would be a really enticing route to go because there is like historical facts about him, but also like there's rooms for creating narratively and weaving a story for him. So I'm just curious to know what they do with that approach. And yeah, he looks like a really cool guy. He's more, they said, like level-headed and what was the other word they used for him? They use another. Okay, so Naoi is intense and passionate and determined. She wears her heart on her sleeve, and he's more thoughtful and level-headed, intelligent and respectful of the Japanese culture. So it sounds like they created him and her to kind of work well together and have like interesting perspectives and approaches. Anyway, very excited if you can't tell. I've already like done so much reading on this, and I'm like, I want this game now.
Ubisoft does such an excellent job of making sure that their art teams and their design teams are doing really extensive historical research. It's been one of my favorite parts of the Assassin's Creed franchise over the years, of really just loving the attention to detail and the care for each of these settings that these games are in to make sure that there's so much accuracy, so much so that, you know, in the last couple of iterations of the game, they've had this educational mode built in where you can actually go in and learn things about these settings that are inside the games, which I love. And I vividly remember when Ghost of Tsushima came out, so much of that game was just Assassin's Creed to me. I was like, this is from Assassin's Creed. This is from Assassin's Creed. I was like, this just makes me want that Assassin's Creed Japan game. And now here it is. And I am pumped to see the gameplay reveal, which we are going to get, they said, in June, which I assume is at the Ubisoft Forward event that is happening, that was announced as well. And I just, I wanna play it. I wanna breathe it. I want all of it.
Yeah. I'm excited to see where the Templars and Abstergo come in, if that comes in. Like, I don't know where that storyline lies right now. I've been missing the last couple Assassin's Creed, but this is going to get me back in for sure. And I like that meta story layer. So yeah, I'm very excited for this as well. This is now number one on my anticipated list now that Hades is actually in early access.
They've really pulled back from a lot of the more modern Abstergo and Animus storylines, and they talked about that when they detailed the roadmap for the future of the Assassin's Creed franchise, because it was becoming increasingly difficult to kind of wrap those narrative lines together. Now, we did see some of it in the Assassin's Creed games that, you know, have happened over the last couple of years, but it's becoming a smaller and smaller portion of the game. So, because they discover that people just want to like live in these worlds and have these experiences and don't want the kind of jarring pullback moment of like, hey, you're actually wearing a hoodie and running around with a backpack and doing whatever.
JK, it's VR.
Doing whatever you're doing instead. It became like really difficult to kind of justify the time taken away from the immersion. And so I think they rightly were like, hey, you know what? We're just gonna not really focus on that too much. So
yeah. The other thing too I'm excited about is, I mean, I love the RPG mechanics, but I think in the other games it became a bit much with all of the gear you were trying to maintain and find and collect. So because this era of Japanese warfare did not make use of shields, you do not have defensive options aside from your armor. So dodges and positioning is going to be paramount. And so I'd love to see that become a little bit more gameplay focused. And I mean, I love RPG stuff as much as the next person, but it was just way too much gear, I remember. And there's a transmog system, and you can customize your katanas, and like, let's go, baby.
Yeah, the Assassin's Creed transmog that they've implemented in the last couple of games has been incredible. I do think that they overcorrected a bit with Mirage, and I know that Mirage was intended to be like a love letter to the original Assassin's Creed formula, but I want like a Goldilocks moment between like what we got in Odyssey and like Valhalla. It was just like maybe a little bit too much gear, but I still want there to it to have that RPG element because I really loved the direction that they were going in with those RPG elements. And of course, this studio, Ubisoft Quebec, who is the lead studio on this, we know that there's going to be like a dozen Ubisoft studios that have their hands in this game, but they are the ones who made Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So I'm really hoping that, they do something really interesting with the gear system. And I'm glad you brought up the combat because the combat has changed so much game to game. And I have really enjoyed all of the different iterations. Like, there's not been one that I was like, this sucked. They're just different. And them bringing in more of a defensive or even like a parry system, I think will be really fascinating to see how they implement that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Bring it on. Let's go. Show me all of the things.
I am sad, though, we didn't get gameplay. And I know we're getting it in June. But it would have been nice to get a little, something.
This is what they do. They have a splashy cinematic trailer. They've had some really iconic ones over the years. Typically, it's at their big press conference, and they have some really amazing song, and it's just like this really fun moment. But they clearly want to get out in front of all of the news that's going to be happening around Summer Game Fest and the Xbox Summer Games Showcase, and give us a deeper dive at the actual live event, which I'm okay with too.
Whatever.
Listen, I always like gameplay, but they got to spread out their marketing beats.
You're the HUD girl.
How this works. But this is very clearly not gameplay, right? This is very clearly like, hey, this is a cinematic storytelling moment to set up the narrative of what's going to come in this game.
Yeah, we'll be HUD hunting in a couple weeks for sure.
HUD hunting, oh my god, I love it. The HUD hunters.
Hunting. Give me
I
the
do want to
HUD.
say, although I'm obviously very, very excited about this, I'm worried. Here's the thing, is like the AC formula has never been enough to hook me, and I wonder if that's always because there's just been so much to do and so much to get sidetracked, and the narrative for me personally just never got its hooks in me, right? So I'm a little worried that if this is just more AC with like a feudal Japan skin and some characters that look like they're gonna be really great, but like what if they're not that interesting? I'm worried that it won't do it for me. I know for a lot of folks like that sounds like fucking heaven to them, but I'm gonna wait until the gameplay to see what it is.
Well,
I'm hoping
just off the press release, they're adding so much different things in the formula this time. Like, you'll be able to create a network of spies that will be allies for you with specialized skills and abilities to be recruited during missions, and the creation of a customizable hideout to enable players to enhance their network and train their crew.
That gets me hot and bothered.
Base building, layout, decorations.
So I feel like I'm letting myself get excited for this one. I think if this was any other setting, any other situation, I'd be like, okay, this is going to be cool. Probably not for me, but I think this is the one where I'm letting the dam break, ladies. And I'm like, just let it get gushy. Let's just go.
Get gushy.
Let it gush, Ree. Exactly.
Yeah.
Letting it gush.
We're just going to leave it at that. All right, everybody. That is going to do it for our lead story for the week. When we come back, some quick headlines. But first, a message from our sponsor. This episode of What's Good Games is brought to you by Shopify. Are you selling a little? Or maybe you're selling a lot. Shopify helps you do your thing however you cha-ching. Shopify is a global commerce platform that helps you sell at every stage of your business, from the launch your online shop stage to the first real-life store stage, all the way to the did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Shopify's there to help you grow. Whether you're selling scented soap or offering outdoor outfits, Shopify helps you sell everywhere, from their all-in-one e-commerce platform to their in-person POS system. Wherever and whatever you're selling, Shopify's got you covered. Shopify helps you turn browsers into buyers with the internet's best converting checkout, 36% better on average compared to leading commerce platforms. And sell more with less effort thanks to Shopify Magic, your AI-powered all-star. Shopify powers 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S., and Shopify is the global force behind Allbirds, Rothy's, Brooklinen, and millions of other entrepreneurs of every size across 175 countries. One of the things that we love about Shopify here at What's Good Games is how easy they make every step of the process. So no matter if your business is super big or maybe your business is small like ours, they have tools to help you grow. And you just got to get started. That's it. Because Shopify's award-winning help is there to support you and your success every step of the way. Because businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/what'sgood, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/what'sgood to grow your business now, no matter what stage you're in. Shopify.com/what'sgood. Let's get into this week's headlines. And Brittany, you've got a special one.
I have a special one, and I wish I could say that I remembered this on my own, but Facebook memories came in clutch. May 15th, 2017, friends, we announced What's Good Games. So on the day of this recording, it has been 7 years since we announced this lovely podcast that we've called home for many, many days. I was going to try to do 365 times 7 in my head, but no way, I'm not that smart.
That's a lot of days.
Yeah. Yeah, 7 years and 366 episodes later.
How exciting. Wow. What fun. Thank you again to everybody who joined us on the anniversary stream. You can watch the VODs if you want to relive the shenanigans with us. But
it gets real good after Ree gets there and we do a TKO.
It sure does. It sure does. But now we have some actual headlines. Why don't you kick things off with a little bit of sad news?
Wah, wah. So Square Enix is the latest publisher to announce layoffs. Employees in its U.S. and European branches will be affected by structural reforms after learning layoffs have hit the Japanese publisher. The staff reductions will take place over the next month and will affect publishing, IT, and indie games division Square Enix Collective. In its latest financial report, the company details its new strategy to aggressively pursue a multi-platform strategy across Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. Bloomberg reports that following the release of the new report, shares in Square Enix fell by 16%, the company's biggest decline in 13 years. Bree, this sucks. I mean, what do you say? What else do you say?
It sucks. And, you know, all of the PR language, which I know lots of people worked really hard to put together, doesn't cover up the fact that, you know, when business strategies don't work out, when management isn't able to show enough growth or recoup funds of investments, people lose their jobs, and it sucks and it needs to stop. But how do we stop it? I don't know. Throw
that's the
more
question,
money
right?
at the problem, like top brass getting less payouts, and, you know, pulling a Nintendo and putting the money back into the company to keep people afloat through tough times. Like, that would be nice to see more of that.
Yeah. It would be great. I think that's just a sad realization of it all is like, these companies will never be satisfied with the amount of money they make. So it's always, how can we cut? And now, you know, quarterly shit's coming up, and Square Enix is going through a lot of interesting, I don't want to say air quote changes because it's not super drastic, but their story about how they want to do, you know, focus on either AAA or like kind of smaller little darlings or the stuff in between, whatever it was. They're focusing their strategy on that. They're making these layoffs. They're going multi-platform. All really interesting. I guess we'll see where we all land in about, I don't know, a few years, see where this all takes us. But either way, like, bummer news.
Yeah.
Sad.
I just look forward to not having to do one of these stories every single week. It's just, it's exhausting. It's just
but that's
exhausting.
the question, right? Like, when does it end? Like, how much are we going to have to course correct? And that's, I don't know. No one knows. That's the problem. The next one is kind of silly, a little wacky. Pull out your little wacky inflatable silly men. Let that air flow.
Little CEOs.
Little silly CEOs, yes. Sony announces not one, but 2 silly CEOs will replace Jim Ryan. In a message to staff, interim CEO Hiroki Totoki revealed that his successors will manage different parts of the global video game business. Herman Holst will serve as CEO of the new studio business group, and Hideki Nishino will be the CEO of the platform business group. Cool.
Yeah. I mean, we knew
Whatever.
that this announcement was coming once they figured out who was going to run each group. So I think, you know, Herman Holst is an excellent choice, given how he's run both Guerrilla Games and has served as the head of PlayStation Studios. So, and for people who obviously probably, why would you be familiar with Nishino-san, was previously the SVP of Sony's Platform Experience Group. So, yeah. We will see how everything turns out. In other Sony news, Helldivers 2 is now PlayStation's fastest-selling game ever. Yes, you heard that correctly. Democracy is sweeping the galaxy, everyone, as Helldivers 2 has sold 12 million copies between PC and PlayStation 5, enough to become Sony's fastest-selling PlayStation game of all time. The PlayStation-published breakout hit has shifted around 1 million more units than the previous record holder, 2022's God of War Ragnarok. I guess I forgot that Ragnarok was the record holder. The sales figures were confirmed in the company's latest financial results, which they also announced this co-CEO business. Okay, not co-CEO. They're CEOs of different groups, right? They're not co.
They're silly CEOs.
They're silly CEOs, which also revealed a new running total for PS5 console sales, 59.3 million, meaning the hardware stands roughly equivalent to where the PS4 was at the same point in its life cycle.
Very healthy.
Yeah.
There we go.
Doing good over there at PlayStation. And
I don't want to hear how good y'all are doing until you just hire all these fucking people back. I don't want to fucking hear it.
I mean, that's a very fair thing to be mad about. They did have a big layoff themselves earlier this year, of which we were like, what the hell? What's that about? There's no answers that make sense.
No.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yep.
But
running out of words.
congratulations to the team at Arrowhead and everybody else who's been working on this game.
That's really cool.
Turns out I hear it's still fun. I haven't been helldiving myself in quite some time, though.
Same. I need to get back into it. It seems very fun. There's also so many fun memes and like different accounts online that play around with like I forget what it was. It was like a wildlife account or something that was like talking about bugs and then like we don't like Helldivers because they represent grasshoppers and bugs. There's just a lot of fun play online and yelling for
love that.
democracy and not getting screamed at on the internet about it. It's nice. It's nice. It brings a lot of joy.
Yeah, it
love
sure
that.
does. I just wanted to add one quick headline before we wrap up this segment, which is that Capcom's Monster Hunter series has now sold over 100 million copies since its initial release, in large part thanks to the behemoth that was Monster Hunter World, which contributed just 25 million units itself, which is incredible. Love that game. Very excited to learn more about Monster Hunter Wilds, which was announced at the Game Awards. And hopefully we will see more about that soon. Capcom, you got another showcase coming up?
Oh, baby girl. I haven't even talked about those Resident Evil 9 rumors, but now is not the time or place for that. But ooh, they have been going.
Well, there will be a time and a place for that because
yes.
obviously we need to get your hot take on it.
Oh, yeah. Just give me all the sexy guys and girls from the original. I'm done with the winters. The winters need to melt like the snow they exist in. Like, it just needs to go.
So
it needs to go. And I think they even said that's going to happen, but still people are talking about it. You got to stop me, Andrea. I'm getting ready to go.
It's getting hot. It's getting heated.
Okay. I won't get you all riled up unless you get hot and bothered about Mortal Kombat, because Mortal Kombat 2, the feature film, is looking at a release date for next year.
Oh.
These adaptations, man.
Very
so
excited
great.
about it. I really enjoyed the last one that came out. I know that there was varying opinions on it, but I thought it was very well done. The callbacks for longtime fans were just like expertly done. So very excited for the next one. Hopefully it will be just as good. But it looks like October 24th, 2025. So got a little ways to wait, everybody. But just wanted to say very excited about it. All right. When we come back after the break, Brittany is going to talk to us about her time in Crow Country. We'll see you in a minute.
Is that right?
This episode of What's Good Games is brought to you by Into the AM. Looking for something to wear that isn't just another basic t-shirt? Well, it's time to explore the collections at Into the AM, a premium apparel company that believes clothing is a canvas to express what drives you. Whether you love planets and far-out galaxies, or you're an avid camper that just loves being in nature, there is a collection of elevated everyday graphic tees for you. Their team of skilled artisans craft each garment from the highest quality fabrics using eco-friendly inks for unparalleled comfort. I'm wearing the Coastal Canvas tee in this beautiful blue. It's got such vibrant colors on it, and it is unbelievably soft. You know that t-shirt that you just love that's in your drawer and you take it out and wear it constantly because it's so soft? Yeah, This one is probably becoming that new t-shirt for me. And of course, I had to get my husband in on the test. He tried out the daily short, and I think it's his new favorite thing. He said even after running around after our 2-year-old toddler in full sun on a farm with animals, he stayed comfortable and cool all day long. From performance polos with anti-odor tech and UPF 30 sun coverage to classic cargo shorts, you'll get your new gear quick with their lightning fast shipping. And with over 30,000 5-star customer service reviews, the folks at Into the AM are pretty confident you're going to like what you get. But in case you don't worry. They've got hassle-free returns and a 30-day money-back guarantee. Check out their latest collections today and get 10% off site-wide at our special link at intotheam.com/whatsgood. Get your elevated everyday graphic tee and 10% off at intotheam.com/whatsgood. That's intotheam.com/whatsgood. Welcome back, everybody. If you are watching at youtube.com/whatsgoodgames, you may have noticed our co-host Rihanna has mysteriously disappeared. She had some other obligations to attend to, but Britt and I are excited to talk about what we've been playing. And Brittany, you've been playing a little title called Crow Country. So what's this game all about?
Oh my God, this game, I don't know how I missed the announcement of it. I was even trying to find out when was it announced. I don't know. It doesn't even matter. Maybe I've even talked about it. Who could say? So Crow Country, my dear Andrew Renee, is a survival horror game that looks like it's something straight out of the 90s. But it's not. It's out of 2024. And it's developed and published by SFB Games for PS5, Windows, and Xbox. And when you watch it, like, you immediately get like old Resident Evil 1, 2 vibes, Silent Hill vibes. And you play as an investigator named Mara Forrest, and you are investigating Crow Country, which is an abandoned theme park, because you are looking for its founder, Edward Crow. And just as you play, you uncover, answers about what happened with this theme park. Why was it shut down? What is Edward Crow's shtick? Not to mention, you don't even really know why Mara is looking for him. And as you play the game and you meet a couple of characters, you start to kind of unravel this mystery in your head, or at least you come to like hypotheticals, and it's super fun that way. You're like, ooh, is this person who I think they are? Anywho, everything from the way it looks to the sound to the UI, it just screams like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, 90s era. And I am having so much fun with it. I think it's only like a 6 or 7 hour experience. I'm only 2.5 hours in right now, but the moment I started playing and I took the first step, and it was that iconic like shuffle step that RE1 characters make when they play, when you have nothing but those ambient sounds behind you, I got goosebumps. I was like, oh my God. But yeah, so this is what I'll say about the game. It's very fun. There are puzzles like you would expect. There are like keys you have to find, bronze keys, silver keys, puzzles you have to remember in the back of your mind for later when you find a random object that might just work. There are memos to read, safe rooms, obviously some weird looking enemies that could be very terrifying and frightening. I will say this too, is there is an exploration mode in this game, Andrea.
Ooh, okay.
So you have your standard mode, which is like you have the combat and the enemies that will attack you. And from what I hear, that mode is not challenging at all. Actually, one of the critiques of it is it's a little too easy. But then you have exploration mode where you will not be attacked by enemies. And I vowed to go for that path because I was thinking to myself, like, I've done all the Resident Evils, I've done the survival horror stuff. What would it be like to play a ground up survival horror game without any enemies? Because one of the things I've always loved about the older games is the tension, the storytelling, the progression you make narratively when you're finding and uncovering memos, and just the creepiness atmosphere of it all. So I thought maybe this will scratch that itch without enemies. I was just honestly more genuinely curious. So I haven't encountered any enemies, and I don't know if I will. I don't know if they're just completely like gone from the game in exploration mode. But I will say, like, I think I might start back over with enemies if I don't get some like spooks in soon, because it's definitely creepy and unsettling, but it doesn't make my butt clench in the way I think it might if there were enemies running around.
You need that butt clenching.
I do need the butt clench, and I wanted to bring up the exploration mode because I think if you're someone who maybe doesn't want to go back and play some old Resident Evil or Silent Hill, because see, look at those little creepy guys. Like those guys I just saw in the trailer, they were running towards Mara. They were just already dead in my game. So I'm thinking like that's probably what the scoop is. Anywho, exploration mode will kind of scratch that itch. It'll give you that tension, that atmospheric storytelling, that creepy music, the memos to find, the puzzles to solve. It'll give you that experience, but you don't have to worry about being attacked. You still find weapons and ammo and health kits and all of that sort of stuff too. But you just don't have to worry about something jumping out at you. There are some, jump scares and like the music can get real like woo. But anyhow, I think it's so cool. These are the games that I'm happy exist.
Absolutely. I definitely missed this one as well. And the art style is so interesting. It's almost kind of got like the top-down isometric camera angle, but it's much closer. But the art is all pixely, so it kind of feels like like an 8-bit, 16-bit inspired, but it still feels like 2.5D in a way. Just a really unique spin on this genre for sure.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It's really cool. So if it sounds like something that you might love, for me it's a great palate cleanser because I'm still playing Kingdom Come Deliverance and I'm back on my Stardew Valley bullshit, girl. Back on it.
Yeah, you are. We talked about that. The big expansion was coming.
Yeah, it's still coming. It hasn't released yet, but I'm just playing some pretty relaxing, like immersive games right now, but I found that I needed to spice my life up a little bit. So again, it's a relatively short experience, something vastly different than Stardew and Kingdom Come Deliverance, and it's really scratching an itch. So I would say go play it, go support these guys, SFB Games, because these are the sort of games that I hope we just continue to see. Something, although it's very like much like Resident Evil, Silent Hill, like inspired, it still exists in 2024, and that's cool.
Heck yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got inspired by Rihanna talking about how good Hades 2 is, and a lot of people in the subreddit basically being like, this feels like it's pretty much the full game. They're just tweaking some stuff in early access. So that's definitely getting loaded up on my Steam Deck, but I am in a full-on sprint to finally see the end of Rebirth. This is a game that I've had to step away from just because I wasn't like I was playing a bunch of other games. It was just that I wasn't playing games at all because I got busy with some life stuff. And I need to see the end of it because we are getting our spoiler cast scheduled with Alexa Ray. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have some of the funniest notes. I can't wait to talk to you about them because I've been keeping track of some of the weirder things I've come across, and it's probably not going to be as weird to you and Alexa, but I'm just like, what is this thing? Who is this person? What is happening? What's going on?
I know I'm going to have to do a deep refresher because the ending of that game, and don't worry, no spoilers, mind fucked the shit out of me. And I think it was so mentally traumatizing because I couldn't comprehend what was happening that my brain just shut it out. And the other day I'm like, oh yeah, what happened? And I'm like, oh yeah. So I got to go back and do a whole ass refresher because like it was cuckoo bananas bonkers. And I'm very excited to talk about it in depth.
So there's so much about that game that is cuckoo bananas. So if you guys have questions that you want us to consider for the spoiler cast, send them to whatsgoodgames.com/dearwgg, or you can email them to us at contact@whatsgoodgames.com. Please do not leave them in any comments anywhere. That would be disrespectful.
Yes.
So because it will be a spoiler cast, but we want you to be able to ask whatever spoilery questions you want, but in private, so people who haven't played don't have to see them. I know the game's been out for a couple of months now, but it's still pretty fresh.
It's a beefy game. There's a lot to do. So
yes. Yeah. And of course, I got to get my Guardian up to snuff because the final shape is coming fast and furious. I was very excited that Bungie announced that they were giving all players access to the last 3 expansions to kind of have this water cooler rallying moment with the lightness and the dark saga that's happening. So that's coming in. I'm just like, why? Everything's happening all at once, man. Summer Game
it's
Fest.
all happening. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be rad.
It's going to be rad.
Amazing.
And the 8-ball is back. Thank you to Danny Hasson for sending us a brand new 8-ball. Brittany, you haven't even seen it yet.
I think Danny's the problem. I think he does something to it. I don't care if it's sealed. I don't buy it. He must own all 8-balls, and he tampers with them. And it has my fingerprints in it. so it can scan my fingerprints and it knows when I'm holding it. Actually, no, because you were holding it last year. Never mind. My wild wackadoo theory didn't work. Never mind.
He specifically mentioned that he bought it from a different brand this time, which he did.
Okay. Well, we'll see. All I
see.
know is we'll see, Danny. I don't trust you. You're up to something.
I mean, I think that's clear that he's always up to something. But
Yeah.
hopefully
bad.
just fun shenanigans this time. But that episode is coming up as well. So if you guys have predictions or questions you want us to ask the 8-Ball, send those our way as well. So thanks, everybody, for checking out What's Good Games, whether it's your first episode or your 366th episode. We're glad you made it to the end.
Yo, wow.
Yeah.
366.
It's a lot of
Never
episodes.
mind. I was going to come up with a song, but I decided against it. So ignore me. Ignore me.
I hope you keep noodling on it. I love your songs.
I will. Thank you.
All right, everybody. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.